time. So let me just look here.
It's live for me.
Still says off air for me.
Well, I guess I'm live first, so
Okay.
I'm going to assume that it's recording already.
Here we go.
Just introduce yourself, name or character, whichever. Justin, I play mainly Alexandra and Solon Char.
And I am Josh, alright, Mordecai Zambrano, Draniclus / Darth Arcus, TD30, Lan Grandel, Pappy, and lots of other memorable characters. Woo!
And I'm Mark. I'm the person who RPs the ever-hated Cersei Saber, along with Bosch and Vince Furious and a bunch of other characters that you probably could care less about because only Cersei is important.
That
baby.
pretty much handles that. Now, to start this off is actually a little bit of non-Star Wars related, but still a big hit to sci-fi as it is. We're going to do 30 seconds of silence for Leonard.
Oh, baby.
For Leonard Nimoy, who was most famously Mr. Spock from Star Trek. So, yep, starting that now.
I don't really have any opinions on it. Anybody else?
There we go. Sorry, okay. So, yep. With that, let's get to the actual stuff. Okay, first thing on the menu I have here is hopes and thoughts on Netherworld. Josh, how about you start us off on what you hope to get out of it, what you think about it, so on?
Well, I like Netherworld mainly because it's outside of the galaxy. I mean, it's used typically when you think of Star Wars, you always see all those cantina and bar threads, which are kind of cliche and very, very, very boring, and that's the reason why I haven't been in one in like 7 years. But it's out of the galaxy, it's completely unique, and I can't wait to see what kind of stories unfold, especially from, I really like the NPC concept, but mainly all the dead NPCs coming out in it. And, like, I saw, yeah, since I'm part of the Zambrano family, me and Kane submit Kane and Mordecai, and they're pretty badass characters. And I just can't wait to see what goes on. What about you guys?
How about you go first, Mark?
Well, for you to really understand Netherworld, you would have had to participate in the previous galactic event, Mass of Madness, because the clues that Tef has really given regarding the main villain of this event probably point mostly towards that Akala villain from, like, Mass of Madness. I don't even remember really who the main villain of that was because of, well, all of that. But I really appreciate the fact that they're working hard in order to create a unique lore for this event. There's plenty of world builders and location builders that have been working tirelessly on creating new planets outside the galaxy and new locations within the Netherworld for characters to explore and interact with. And whether that's going to be the super-duper bang-up that we expect it'll be, yet to be determined, but I expect good things from it.
I kind of want to see some Game Master things going on in there. You guys remember, I don't know if you guys were there for, what's it called? The zombie one. I can't remember it. Dark Harvest, yeah, Dark Harvest.
Oh,
that was the one where we had several roleplay judges and admins game mastering things. And I love that. I always love having dungeon masters to roleplay and keep everything fair and keep PvP fairly clean.
Well, that's a fair point. But Dark Harvest did leave quite a few people with more questions than answers. I mean, the Dark Harvest NPCs did completely disappear after the event. No question as to their whereabouts and no evidence as to what may have happened to them.
Maybe they
Well,
could have
don't you think that they can? Yeah, they can come back during this one.
maybe they just died off over the time or just got sucked away with it during the whole rapture part of the event. You said about the community created locations, NPCs. Mark, any that you remember? This not including our own, because I do believe each of us had made something for it.
Well, considering the fact that I have the list of, Netherworld tagged locations and planets,
I pulled that up too.
suppose it's only fair that we pull them up and go over maybe one or two out of respect for the people who've worked hard in order to create these places.
Any that stand out to you?
Well,
Oh, and, Josh, I'll send you the link to that real quick so that we...
All right.
all right, well, one I see in particular that looks relatively interesting is made by Adiara Drelas. You may know her better as Cara Vidrea or Libby, depending on whether you know her outside of Star Wars RP or not. It was a collaboration between her and Garen Vale in order to create a location. And the Garden of Thorns is a very sort of a maze-like forest area. It seems big, but it's actually small because, illusion, force sort of thingy. And, half good, half bad. It's very similar to the Garden of Eden and the Labyrinth meshed into one. And I'm looking forward to seeing how people interact with it.
When I was looking through it, I'm interested to see a lot of dead PCs and dead family members of PCs, including those like, but not limited to, I believe Cain had his own mother and maybe father. I forget if it was the father, but I do know he had his father on there, and that's a NPC, as well as both versions of Apparine. That was interesting to see a both light-sided and dark-sided version of her.
Yeah, that's going to be one heck of an explanation to explain how there's two versions of her, but I don't know, soul-splitting or something like that.
Clone.
I have no idea.
Clones are all clones. No, Sierra. Everybody's Sierra.
No. Hold on. I guess I got to say this on behalf of my good friend Vizela. Sierra's love, Sierra's life.
I don't think our viewers appreciate that at all.
I'm sure Sarge would love that.
Yes, Sarge would definitely. Anyways, enough of the in-jokes that only certain people would get. This is a full-scale community podcast, and it's for everyone, not just select groups.
Indeed. See anything you are interested in seeing during Netherworld that was player-created, Josh?
I actually haven't been looking through any of it because I am a terrible person, a terrible factory judge, and I am the bane of everyone's existence. I don't know. I'm looking through the link you gave me right now, and I see. Nope. That was and it seemed pretty interesting.
How about, I forget if it mentioned it. I'm looking through the announcement.
I am a very lazy person.
But did the announcement say something about the Vong Galaxy? Do you guys remember if it said something about the Vong Galaxy or something?
What I recall from the initial discussion over the event, what was actually going to happen was that these planets, the Netherworld planets, were going to be based outside the galaxy. I know some of them were going to be based inside the broken Vong Galaxy, but I'm not sure if all of them will be. I know that, at least in my case, the one that's made with Silentium on it is intended to be in the Vong Galaxy, but I don't know if everyone else's is intended to also be there.
I just don't exactly understand how there's life in the Yuzhang Vong galaxy anyways, because it's pretty much torn up by war, and that's the reason why Yuzhang Vong are on world ships in the first place, because they had a full-scale conflict with, I forgot, Abominors and then the other extragalactic race. Pretty much their galaxy is war-torn, every planet is lifeless, and they've been living on like 100-kilometer-wide world ships from now on, and I just don't get that concept of having dead people there.
Well, I mean, it is.
Now, this is a question, because I did notice with the creation of these planets and with the creation of these NPCs and stuff, back during the Clockwork Rebellion, the Clockwork Rebellion's bad guy had its own cloud on the map. What do you guys think if that might happen with the creation of these planets?
I'm not entirely sure how that would work, considering that this occurs in a completely different galaxy. I mean, if they come up with, for better lack of term, a stable method of transport between the Vong galaxy and, you know, the galaxy that we know as Star Wars, our peers, that might make sense to have faction clouds and whatnot there. But otherwise, I'd say it would be pretty pointless.
Same, Josh, or?
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same on that, and I just don't see why there would absolutely need to be a cloud on the map when you could just have a separate map entirely, and it would be kind of off to the side where the Siruvi Imperium and the Zanima Sekot is.
Let me pull up the map real quick so I can see what you're talking about.
Yeah, because it's pretty much its own map. I don't think factions should have any place or hold any weight in that area as it is. It should be entirely up to the individual players. No dominions, no invasions, none of that in there, because, I mean, it's probably going to end up being small contingents of people getting in there, like the Valen event. When they had the giant electric cloud, you could only send down small amounts of people or resources at a time. It'll end up being... I expect it'll end up being like that. So you're not going to be able to jump in entire massive-ass invasion fleets and everything to wreck shit and take over no point in doing that in the first place.
Okay. And lastly is the whole concept of going to the void and the land of, well, the undead, basically. How do you think that will go over? Well, smooth, or not?
Well, no offense to the staff, because they have come up with very intriguing event ideas. But
sorry.
That's how I start off the whole critiquing thread. That's probably not a good idea to start off that way.
Well, I mean, to be fair enough, if you're having them all go into the Netherworld of the Force, where the line between the living and the dead is pretty much completely skewed, I mean, isn't this basically the cliche of a near-death experience going on for every single character that partakes in the event? It's just a massive cliche. I mean, massive cliches can be pulled off pretty spectacularly, but, I mean, I'm not sure if that's really the best way to look at that portion of the event.
What if, like, playing on the side of the staff right now, what if it wasn't a near-death experience ordeal, but something like, well, somebody brought up in the little chat window on the YouTube page your own name, and it was mentioned in Greek mythology. Thinking from that, what if it's like a door to the underworld sort of deal, where myths like Heracles and I do not remember the guy with the harp. Point being, what if it's a physical or a metaphysical doorway to the Netherworld instead of a near-death experience?
Well, I was merely referring to the concept of characters visiting the afterlife as, you know, sort of a near-death experience. But if it was more of a direct transit, you know, the rift has been opened, sort of a Dragon Age Inquisition thing, and, I mean...
Oh, baby. I write Hawk. That's great.
It would make a little bit more sense, to say the least.
Green lady's giving us the power to shoot sparks.
That's hot. Well, I always like to think of chaos as a giant conspiracy theory. What if everything we've ever done is a dream?
Cut out there. Say again.
Trillions of people off of the galaxy, and then he's just going to spirit us away into the middle of nowhere where he can just kill us all and then tell us all it's a dream.
Hey, maybe that's Tef's plan, and we're all walking right into it.
Oh, baby, I'm ready.
Okay. We still got about 5 minutes before we have to transition to the next area. So, you guys want to go over some more of the submissions, give some people credit on what they do, give them a few things about their planets or about their locations?
I think if they've been approved, then they're good to go, and if they've been denied, then, they have a reason for that. I really want to go over the invasions that we've been doing lately. I want to stray from Netherworld right now, like the Manon invasion, Prakith, and Kashyyk. That is something I want to talk about.
Okay. Well, that does leave us a lot more room for that. With that said, and if nobody has any other points to point out about how your feelings are on Netherworld, we will move on to... we can go for the general discussion area. This is where those listening can tweet or put in the forum. On the forum, there's a page for you to type your questions. I am checking that over and over right now under the general discussion in the water cooler. It is labeled Podcast Questions Number 1. Otherwise, you can also tweet to @StarWarsChaos_podcast with the hashtag invasion. With that said, Josh, you wanted to talk about this first, so how about you take lead?
Alright, so we're going to just do it in chronological orders, and I've been wanting to start with Manon. I was not a faction admin per se, I was the leader of the fleet portion of it on the One Sith side, and I have to say this is one of the best invasions I've been in fleet-wise as both a player and a player leader per se, because it was me, Vizela, Darth Arcanix, Melikoth Tyrant, and I'm pretty sure that was it for the Sky Crew. And our opponents were very, very well written. I just didn't really like the dice rolls that I was seeing on the other side. I don't ever think dice rolls should affect role play like this, and I think they should merely just be damage should be given on a proportionate basis. I mean, if you get hit with a Death Star laser and you dice roll and you get a 2 when you're trying to get something above a 50 to hit, that's just terrible right there.
Yeah, I was thinking... Mind if I say something about the whole dice roll thing?
Yes, go ahead.
I started my first experience being with dice rolling being in Dungeons & Dragons, of course, usually. But with dice rolling, I always did bring up the fact that you're pretty much using the analogy a farmer could kill a dragon. It's both a thing of chance, but you also, when doing it, have to take into the fact a second thing if you want to do it fairly, and some people tend to miss that second thing.
I just don't like dice rolls in general. It gives you an entirely unfair advantage when you're doing things like that, and when you focus fire of an entire fleet on one ship, and you dice roll to only give it 30% lower on the 30% damage, that is not exactly how I like things to roll. But still, Fleet Invasion from Manon was well written. I wrote with Chris and Mason, and along with my Zombrana, as I was running Mordecai Zombrana during this, and there was some pretty sick things going on in my not my flagship, my carrier analog. Not subjugate, but influence the mind of a Yamask and crash it into the flagship, and therefore give the Republics a win on that. But I heard a lot about the ground side going on because people were spawning in NPCs from everywhere, throwing in shit out the Wuzang, and they were just like tromping out using Vong Legions out the ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
With the whole NPC thing, I was on the ground 95% of the time next to Balea Zambrano or Darth Praetor. I don't know how to say. Sin, make your name easier to say. Point being, I was on the ground most of the time with that, and there was, from what I observed, a large amount of NPCs coming out of nowhere, as well as in the OOC thread, a lot of people having problems with the fact that the One Sith did use their NPCs, which is where those NPC spawning came from a lot. The fact that the One Sith were pulling their NPCs in on objectives and pretty much canceling out the whole Force user, Force God thing.
I think there should be a lot of logistics play in ground invasions. I mean, you've got to land troops down there, supply them, give them ammo, and do all of that, lots of cool army stuff, but lots of people don't really like to roleplay that because it's kind of boring to have. So roleplay is an entire paragraph of your characters driving NPCs driving up a supply truck to refuel stuff. But I just think it's a key element in adding a lot more detail to invasions and the like. So, I always have a saying as the more detail, the less confusion. When you make things precise and pinpoint, there's never any mistakes, and you can accurately make replies in a timely manner.
Were you there for this invasion, Mark?
Are we talking about the initial invasion of Manon that the Sith used in order to, try and take the planet over? Or are we talking about
the recent one?
No. Honestly, I've tried my best to stay out of invasions because as of recently, it's typically turned into, what's the word that I can use without this being censored? A measuring contest over who has NPCs, over who has more power, and all that stuff. On top of that, trying to keep groups together when it comes to invasions and various objectives, that becomes a real pain because for some people, not for all people, but for some people, tags don't seem to work properly. And when tags don't seem to work properly, they get left out. When they get left out, they get lost and they have no idea what the hell is going on, so they just say, well, screw this, I'm getting the hell out of here, and they leave the invasion. Also, as Josh pointed out a while back, there really isn't much tactical thought that goes into this. I mean, I would love for them to, maybe do an invasion where they actually come up with a map and objectives that are located on the map and, I don't know, landing points and stuff like that. So, it would maybe be a little bit more proper.
Kind of like the space part of Velen.
Like the space battles from Dark Harvest. Space Battle from Dark Harvest, I didn't agree with what happened there, but the map was extremely well written. Kudos to John, otherwise known as Ashen Vranin, for keeping that map updated for a good portion of it. It was overall something I'd really like to see be transferred down to the ground side of things.
Now,
before we continue, here is your intermission advertisement from Hegemonic Automation. They sell the best droids. This is a request I got from a special young lady named Darth Janus, also known as Hugh Janus, and go buy bots from him. They sell the best sex bots. There you go.
Oh my god. Well,
no, we all
that
know
was a very useful advertisement for some people.
All right.
What I was going to bring up next was I was looking through the podcast questions because seeing as we are on the invasion part of this, might as well bring those up. Garen Vale, his first question had been, what do you guys think is an effective way to reply to a post in an invasion for a newcomer? For people that are doing this first time or the first few times, what do you think would be an effective way to post an invasion? I'm trying to word this, but
well, the answer to that is there really isn't. The only way you can really reply to posts and invasions is you've got to keep up with the tags, make sure you get included in the tag block that people in your part of the invasion are using. You also have to make sure that your posts are somewhat flexible, because there is a percent chance that you get sniped on your post and someone else is going to post before you do. So always take into account that.
Anything to add, Josh?
Not really. I just like making things blow up in threads. Imaginary explosions. That's what I'm about, man.
Just fill it with rockets.
So what do you guys think about the Prakrith and Kashyyk invasions? There's a lot of angst going around that. I don't know, because I'm like...
I have to say I have the Prakrith one, on my opinion, just because I hit a lot of walls during that one on my character, so I'm going to stay out of talking about that one. I have been reading the Kashyyk one. I was honestly very, very, very surprised that the Republic is rallying to... In fact, last time I checked, aren't they winning it?
Like Prakrith?
No, Kashyyk.
I was about to say, we ain't winning shit in Prakrith. Me and Illy have been going at it for like days upon days, just throwing shit back and forth. Alright, so what about Kashyyk?
I'm sorry, we should probably focus on one at a time.
I like Kashyyk
first, seeing as that one I can't even talk about. Go ahead.
Well, I've been on it's mainly been me and Logan who writes book, The Dreadguard, and I'm writing Land Grendel, and I was supposed to be going up against Kane Zambrano, but I have no clue what happened to that. I've been mainly been NPCing around 20,000 Republic Marines and some armor and stuff, and I've been setting up a forward operations base because I was talking about the logistics stuff earlier. And I always figured that having a nice supply line of ammo and fresh bodies to throw into the grinder would be a good idea. And Illy's in a giant pit, and we've been Starship Troopering this shit up. And I've been throwing my peeps that are bugs. They've been getting churned up, dropping bombs on them, and there's a lot of blood and guts everywhere. But we haven't got any closer to the Citadel. And I wanted to talk about the Citadel objective as well, because the White Current was used, and the White Current is pretty much a light side only force ability when a Sith Lord used it to cloak an entire Citadel. I mean, I have no objections against that being used in a proper manner. I just like to see more than one post go into making an entire Citadel invisible along with the defense forces. But that's how it went, and that's how it's going to be, and we can't really do much about it until we actually get to the objective and do something about it. What do you guys think about all that going on? What about multiple posts being stacked up to do powers like Battle Meditation and Light Current?
Battle Meditation is a hard one just because pretty much one person in every faction knows it by now, which I've already had a conversation with a week ago about this, as someone I was talking to in Skype wanted to learn Battle Meditation. And my answer to him was basically that go right ahead, but I'm not one to support such action because really it's oversaturated now for such an improved power.
I like it. It's like been Dranic Lusk's trademark power for ever since I made him. Actually, it's a nice power because the effect it does. Because I'm a more of a strategist kind of writer, and I like doing lots of NPC stuff. But I don't like it because of the factors it places on the enemy NPCs. Because when you're also affecting the morale of your troops, but you're also demolishing the combat efficiency of the enemy troops, and I think that's kind of god modding right there. So I just don't really take in that factor when I write posts.
A lot of people also tend to not recognize the second part of that. They love, oh yeah, we're getting improved, but then the opposing force doesn't even recognize that you're doing it, or otherwise, well, just ignores it.
Oh, definitely. Now let's move on to Kashyyk, because that's mainly what Prakrith has just been. It's a giant clusterfuck of Yuzang Vong and Republic Marines.
Well, first, because I did post on the YouTube page asking questions, and Kane brought up something that I did want to talk about that's been happening from Coruscant onward between the Republic and the Sith. and that is basically the amount of people killed and captured during the invasions recently.
Oh, baby, he's been asking me about that. I can see it right now. I'm going through the Skype chat. No, fucking talk about Kishla Grayson kidnap. Okay, let's do that. Let's do that. All right. What about Kishla? She's hot. Let's capture her. Let's implant some Circean worms, and let's get on with life.
Remember, Circean worms don't exist anymore. I made sure.
Nah. I'll get them approved.
I'm sure we can find one somewhere.
Hey guys, here is a serious question.
Alright, is my mic working?
Alright, this in particular comes from Volpezin Zorro, and his question is, how would an NFU enter the Netherworld and come back without the Force connection to sustain or anchor them?
Oh.
And he asked this twice, so we have to answer it.
This...
Oh.
What was it?
Well...
I don't honestly know. That is a pretty good point, because they're not... well, they're connected to the Force. They're just not...
Test 1, 2...
We can hear you, Chandler.
Oh, alright.
There we go.
They're connected to the Force, just not to the point where they can manipulate it. So it's more of a thing in which... I don't know. Just it's a gray area for me.
What was the question again?
The question was, how would an NFU, non-Force user, enter the Netherworld and come back without the Force connection to sustain or anchor them?
Going off what I know about the lore of Star Wars and the little bit of lore that I know regarding that area, I think they would get in through somebody else using the Force. I think it would be it's kind of hard to explain. Yeah, it would be somebody with the Force connection dragging them in, like their presence in. And I think what it would be is that they physically wouldn't be there, but spiritually they would be, and they would be in another body, I think. But you know, I don't know that much about it, so I'm just going off of what I think how that would work.
Well,
before we go on, I would like Chandler, who is our new arrival to the chat, I would like him to introduce himself, tell what character he writes, so everybody knows what's going on.
Alright, what's up? I'm probably the second most hated member on the site. Most of you guys will know me as Darren Onyx or Onyx, depending on how you want to pronounce it. I pronounce it Onyx, whatever. Chandler is actually the name of the account I'm using. My real name is Cody, so hello everybody. And I am Darren Onyx. I used to RP Trixter for a little bit before I got my account back, and yeah, Onyx is the only real character I've ever played since joining the site, so...
Oh, I remember you all the way back from the Blue Hawks. Man, that was great.
Was the Blue Hawks the light thing? No.
That was my best friend.
It was the worst faction in the world. We started off on Endor, and we were a little smudge of blue on the map for a month before we got deleted for activity.
We got pretty far. We got pretty far.
Wasn't too far. Alright, so we were talking, I want to get back on topic about the invasions and whatnot, and we just got done talking about Prakith and how it was just a giant mess of blood and gore, and I want to know what you guys think about Kashyyk, because there's been a whole lot more angst going on with Doughton, because there's been a massive amount of members in that, lots of NPCs being spawned out, and what do you guys just think about it? Because I think it was pretty terrible.
That one's... I'm on that one with you, San. I stopped posting after third day just because of how fast I got lost. And then I jumped over to Burkov because I could still jump into that one as Alex. Point being, though, I have been reading it again, and there have been some interesting face-offs. I did recently see, which Logan brought up earlier, how he defeated Solara. I can't pronounce her last name. And that was
Darth
cool to
Vader.
see.
Solara Vantai.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's surprising that the Republic is holding on at the moment.
Well, I mean, this is really the first time that the Republic has gotten their act together in a long period of time. I mean, they've always been viewed over the past few months as the faction who, oh, they only still exist because they were the first faction on the board, or the rumors, oh, they're the staff faction, which doesn't really seem the case. And then there's just the rumors of, oh, they just have too many people to fail. It's like GM or something like that. But ultimately, I would just simply say the fact that they're actually moving forward with what it seems to be new management, that really seems to be helping now that they've gotten things going again, especially considering the fact that the One Sith dominated them pretty easily earlier.
4 or 5 minutes.
Woo!
Okay, you have to
One
take into
Sith.
consideration that they kind of let themselves get taken over by the Sith.
They're
well,
submissive motherfuckers.
I was in the Republic for a long time in the beginning when the One Sith did appear. And while the first thread, and I still have the very, very sad memory of hearing it was first story when Coruscant fell, after that we were trying to honestly hold on. There was the one time during the Republic in September, there was a vote for us to have a invasion of Anaxis, which is the current capital of the Republic, seen as Coruscant fell. And it was a vote on if the faction should go minor again through a story-based loss at Anaxis, or keep on. I forget what the third option was, but a second option was, or keep on fighting as we are. And surprisingly, the Republic did vote to stay as we are after a long, long debate between the members, but it did stay as it was.
And if I may just briefly interrupt, the third option was to merge with the Omega Protectorate, and was in OP at that point in time with Cersei, business deal with Aiden Cater and a bunch of stuff. But you can tell that the deal wouldn't have gone through even if the Republic had voted for it, because the OP was not voting for a merger.
Ooh, I don't really like that. Angsty Jedi younglings plus super Spartans from Warhammer 40k. Whoa, wait. Before we go on to the next one, I really want to bring up that point about having 21 or 24-year-old Jedi Masters running around the board when Anakin Skywalker was the chosen one, and he wasn't even
I think it was 18 at most. Was he?
Yeah, but
his early 20s.
When he became Darth Vader, he was like 19, 20.
I remember.
Because the Clone Wars went on for, I think, 3 years before they ended, so that's 3 years in between Episode 2 and Episode 3.
8 years between 1 and 2, or 10 years. It was 8 or 10 years before 1 and 2.
Was it? Oh, okay.
I was pretty sure it was that long of a time.
I remember reading, because I was explaining to my girlfriend the other day that it was shorter. I could have sworn. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't into the
It's a
prequels.
gray area with that time.
I don't want to bring up the prequels. It's bad memories.
Yeah. Well, just know that somewhere Jar Jar is dying slowly.
Thank
And
God.
just real fast before we move on to the next topic, if Episode 7 could just have Jar Jar come in at the very beginning and then somebody kill him, that would be Episode 7 and the best. I mean, that would make Episode 7 the best of them.
Agreed.
Okay, so next topic.
But mind if I say one more thing, as it's a question I was going to ask
Yeah.
about the Republic and its leadership? There was a recent new Supreme Chancellor and everything brought in, but also the fact that, from what I've been hearing, the Jedi are looking to, well, some of the Jedi, not all of them, because I was looking through the Republic's forums, and I did notice that a lot were against the idea, but some of the Jedi wanted to split off from the Republic. And with them gone, both out of character and in character wise, do you think the Republic would be able to survive many more invasions?
It depends on how many Force user characters they have compared to non-Force user characters. Because if a majority of them are Force users, which I'm sure a good majority of them are, because the Republic is Jedi Order, it's a big part of who the Republic is. So depending on how many characters they have as Force users, if they break off, they're probably gonna either merge with another faction, which I think is the most likely option, unless of course, because Netherworld, I know we touched on it earlier, but the influence clouds are going to be decreased quite a bit. So it's going to have room for some uprising factions. So maybe the Jedi will have their own faction if they break off, but I'm guessing a merger. But when they lose that majority of Force users, they're going to be down quite a significant number of members, and that's going to open up some trouble with the One Sith if they're still at war after the event's going on, because that's going to give them opportunity to steamroll them just like they did before.
You pointed. From my viewpoint, the Republic will 100% survive. Pretty Jedi schisms before with the Silver Jedi, with the Jedi who ended up going to the OP because they didn't like it, with the Jedi who went to the Levantine Sanctum, and with, other various Jedi sects. Great, I'm going to get laughed at for saying the word sex, but...
Yeah, I really didn't catch it until you said that.
The point is...
Okay. Okay, we need to get back on topic, because we were talking about the invasions, and now we're talking about religious force orders, and I want to hear a whole lot more about explosions, blood and guts, and flaming Wookiees. Has anyone here besides me been in the Kashyyk invasion?
Like I said, I was on for 3 days, and then I just started reading it because I got left behind.
And I didn't get it. Sorry.
Alright, well, I was in there. I was in there for the fleet portion again because that has been my thing since, I don't know when. I don't know, I started a whole lot early on.
You're one of the old players with Aiden.
Yeah, I'm an old dog. But, yeah, I was doing the fleet stuff, and there wasn't a whole lot of One Sith manpower on that, and it was almost a definite defeat for us from the beginning, and I'm not going to elaborate on that a whole lot because it was mainly just starfighters blowing up my ship, and then John's character, Selka Ventus, dogfighting one of Frank's characters, Talon Vazra, and they had some pretty good dogfights, but I slacked on posting a lot, and we inevitably lost that. But I heard a lot of stuff about the ground objectives, especially because I was in there in the beginning with some of my posted Mordecai, even though I bailed out on the One Sith, which I feel kind of bad about. But there was a lot of angst going on because there would be some Sith players, and there would be it was pretty much an equal amount of NPCs on both sides. But when you would get in a hairy situation, some people would spawn in battalions and legions of not stormtroopers. We didn't use those. We using Vong and then peacekeepers and Republic Marines and Wookiees. That it got so hectic and there were so many posts that nobody knew what to do. There were lots of angst and duels that I saw because people were channeling 3 powers at once.
Hey guys.
Oh, hey, Logan.
Oh my god, it worked.
Logan.
Okay.
Actually, I went.
Well, I'm gonna finish.
Oh,
and I was and I was talking a whole lot about the Kashyyk NPCs on the ground and a lot of the PvP stuff going on down there. And I believe Logan here, this is Logan, guys, he writes a book in Grex and Raid and Calico Talverta, and would you tell us about yeah, would you, I remember that.
Alright,
so would you tell us a little bit about your duel with Darth Vidium and Grex and Raid on Kashyyk?
Oh, dude, I've got shit to tell. Let's see, first of all, I'm going to just backtrack for a minute because I've been getting really pissed off for about 30 minutes trying to get this thing to work. Kashyyk and Prakith, sorry, I'm getting off topic here. I kind of want to, yeah. I've been in Kashyyk and Prakith.
Go for it, man.
Yeah, I've been on topic several times.
Silence, children. I've been on Kashyyk and Prakith since the start, and as for the NPC thread, it's been a little crazy. I kind of partook too because, I don't know, I'm kind of iffy on my feelings on the One Sith OOC, but that's completely just my deal. It's an issue. But I see. Sorry, I've got a raspy throat. The whole thing.
I bet.
Let's. Yeah. The whole thing. Oh, that's right. Josh and I just have our good times in the back room. You guys want to join?
I'm
Talking
here.
about Star Wars here, man.
No, see, I got on the podcast.
Pretty much. Anyway, yeah, the NPC floods. I really think we should have some kind of regulations on that, because while it was fun writing certain groups, and this is just my personal experience, and I have no issue with anybody who used them against me, on Kashyyk as book, I put in 300 peacekeepers. I thought that was a reasonable number. I was kind of worried I would be overdoing it a little bit. And I was really excited, and I spent 3 or 4 posts setting up defenses. And one of the Sith came in and in one post with 12,000 soldiers and steamrolled me in 3 posts and killed all my men.
Well then.
Which is fine. I mean, I got to RP some kind of sensitive, touchy-feely shit with Book and his buddy, and that was fun. But I was kind of upset about that. But I mean, there's no rules against it, so you can't get mad. You know what I mean? So I mean, kudos to the Sith for that. The whole deal with B was a lot of fun to watch. I kind of liked it when Reverence dropped dead bodies on all our soldiers and killed like half our guys. But onto the main issue. Sorry, I got a little with the fight with Vidium. We've had duels in the past between Graxon and Solara, and they were really cool. I don't really know her OOC. She's kind of reserved with me, which I'm a Jedi, so. But the duels with her in the past were really fun. Like, they fought on Scylla, and he ran away because he's a pussy. And they fought again on Kashyyk, because, well, nobody wants to fight me because I'm a horrible writer, of course. And we fought, and I legitimately thought Graxon was going to die, because I have no idea how to counter Waves of Darkness. I can't write battle meditation for shit. My character is a healer with a lightsaber. That's really it. And so we got to fighting, and she was courteous enough to let me get a hit in with my Force Combustion, which is basically my view. Like, people always view healers as like strictly healing characters, and I try to explain to them that's not what it is. A healer is a character who goes down to the molecular level in a person's body and repairs them from there. That can also be used in reverse, which is what Force Combustion is, to rip them apart into little tiny pieces. And nobody else uses this except for me and Fiona Mason, trying to get it more popular.
Mind if I butt in?
What's up? Yeah, go for it, man.
I thought combustion was more of a branch of maybe telekinetics or pyrokinesis.
It is, like, in a way. It's my take on it. Like, you can go with the telekinesis plan. It's just the way I view it is that people often post with it that they're just targeting somebody's part of the body and making it go boom. And I think that's kind of underdoing it. I think, like, if you go with a healer's touch, because a healer goes past just envisioning somebody's, or go down the bone or the little atoms that make up the body, and they just and rip it apart or put it back together. So I kind of relate combustion to that, because combustion is basically what that is, just a little glorified. I don't have any other word for it, you know what I mean? But
that's
sorry about that.
Perfect.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, man. Go for it.
No. If you were continuing, I thought you were done with that. That's why I was gonna talk.
No, I just wanted to thank Vidium for giving me a really fun duel. It was a lot of fun.
I get it all mushy.
Oh,
Kiss him.
I'm sure the viewers would love it. I'll get on the camera. I'll strip. It'll be fun. All right,
Again,
go on, guys.
Star Wars.
Okay, and the newest and last invasion I know of, unless there's one I don't know of, the Primeval and the why am I having trouble remembering the name? I'm the one in it. Oh boy.
That's
Okay.
a fun one.
Yeah, that was real
for
fun.
any listener that I owe a post to in that, I am sorry. I was sick the last 2 days, plus this just for the last 2 hours. Headache. Plus Procraft. That was a headache too. So, minus me, how about you guys? Are you guys in it?
nope.
Kind of. Okay. Josh and I got in a bit of trouble for this last night because we're little shits.
Okay.
Josh and our buddy Dario, who RPs Canal Alberta. See, we're good friends. Well, I consider myself good friends with the leaders of both Primeval and Shadow Empire, and we were kind of having a bad day. And I enjoy trolling around the site on Norge Ruckus a lot.
Wait, you're Norge?
Yeah, I'm Norge, and Josh is Stalin or whatever the fuck his name is. So we
Yep,
joined.
Joseph Levick.
So we joined the thread and had a Super Saiyan battle for all of 4 posts until enough people got pissed off to report us. And I apologize if anybody got happy, but we got enough laughs out of it that I feel it was justified.
I don't. That was worth it.
But yeah, otherwise, it's looked really cool. I like watching them fight. I mean, it's not the same as the like the differences I've noticed between it is that, also, Josh, I think your mic's echoing, man.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, the differences I've noticed between it and the Republic invasions with the Sith is that the Republican Sith are all pew pew, we have big guns and bleh, and then the Shadow Empire versus Primeval, it's coming to look more like a technical thing. Like they're focused more on like slicing and getting the system, et cetera, which we saw a little bit of that in Kashyyk. But like, there was more focus on just the manslaughter. If that makes
For
sense.
the fleeting or just in general? I haven't been reading much of the ground stuff, but for the fleeting, I'm.
Oh, just in general, like I know that they the Primeval are using some kind of old codes to get into the Shadow Empire, or Shadow whatever it's called now.
Before we changed our basis, yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know how that's going, to be honest.
It's not going well, and Billock should run away right now.
Yeah, man, I got to catch up with Romeo Sin on that.
As for that, the only other big threat that I have to deal with, mainly not counting the fleeting itself, because I am not in the mood to deal with fleeting and handed it off to Aiden Miles. But instead, I have to deal with John's Master, the Saren one, Dredge, which is going to be fun,
Oh boy.
and some Witch Elder. I don't remember the Witch Elder's name.
And
On
you're
the hangar.
fighting all these guys by yourself?
Yeah,
That's fun.
Wow,
yeah, only person on the ship.
They have this thing, the suicide vest, and
Well, I thought about spacing them, but Dredge brought up a good point that Solon wouldn't space his own crew, so crap on that, and I can't do it.
this is why you need to
Spacing's
RP.
boring anyways.
Yeah, this is why you need to RP immoral characters, man. It's more fun.
I was thinking the lines of maybe you just have all your crew wear breath masks, pressure shield suits, and then you vent the ship and, everything goes on as it's supposed to go, but then,
Yeah, but then there's also the technical issues.
I want to bring up, because I personally don't like this, but it was a nice thing to add. For when the invasion in the pre-planning, the rules were made, there was you may join before any time after planning until the threat itself starts. And this worked on either faction, which it did draw some people to each faction to help out. Do you guys like that idea? Do you think more people should implement such an idea, or do you think they should bar people from joining just to fight an invasion? Because it does kind of go around the whole no allies rule that was also put in place.
Do you guys mind if I speak real quick?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Nope, go for it.
I'm kind of guilty of doing that. I have different stances on it. From an OOC standpoint, it seems kind of like a shady move, because it is a shady move. But it does make sense from an IC standpoint, and I'm going to justify this from my own experience. We, when I made the Army of Light with the Sion guys, we pledged our service to the Republic. Well, the issue with that was the ally thing. You can only have 10 allies. We have like 30.
Yeah.
So what we did was we just started pumping people into the Republic, and the solution for that IC League was we kind of merged our militaries. Does that make sense? Which is what we've done.
Yes.
Which is what
Kind
we've
of
done.
like the allies during World War II and such.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's like the way the United States with the United Nations and like, the issues with like the Korean War back then and all that stuff. So I can see it working. It's just you got to be careful with it. You have to make sure you don't step on toes. That's no bueno.
So, what was the question?
The question was, do you agree with the whole In the Primeval Invasion, there is 2 rules. The first rule being no allies allowed, which, okay.
Yeah.
The second rule, though, kind of also contradicted that because it said, until the invasion starts, anyone can join the factions to fight in the invasion. So it's kind of contradictory in the two, and I thought good factions just do the whole you can join for an invasion, our faction part, or just go with allies.
Okay. So, thinking back to when I was one of the admins of the Blue Hawks before we, got disbanded. For the record, by the way, we were a successful faction for a month. Okay, that is good. It was good.
A whole month,
fun.
30 days.
We had fun, and we did one really successful invasion. I don't know if any of you guys were a part of it. We did the invasion of Endor.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, we did that was the one invasion. That's the one invasion that we did. I think we did it with I don't remember if we did it with OP or with
Fringe, probably.
I think it was the Fringe actually, because they had message about
Please tell me you committed Ewok genocide.
And we did. We committed Ewok genocide.
I'm so proud of you.
So it was.
I can agree with this.
It wasn't.
It's very good.
It was just to give you a background. The planet wasn't owned by anybody at the time. It was an open planet, so it was more of a invasion against an invasion. Like they were invading and we were invading, and it was just contesting over who would get it in the end. And we ended up winning. But what we did was we introduced the concept of I support the ally concept of having allies coming in to support you, because that's how it would be in like a real life war. Or thinking to a Star Wars related event where it happened. I like to think about the Clone Wars, because the Clone Wars was really the Republic wasn't just fighting. They were getting support from the other systems and the other planets to help them fight against the separatists. So to me, that's pretty much getting allies that help you in the war, and I'm completely for that concept. So when we did Endor way back when, we had the OP come in and help us because they were our one ally. And I think the Fringe didn't have anybody because they were just starting off at the time too. They were still a new faction, so they didn't have any allies. But we had the OP as allies, and they came in and helped us. And because of them, we really won, because we only had like probably 45 members at the time. We had just became a major faction or whatever. So we were still pretty small, but the OP has always been big. So they came in and they were the real reason why we won. But so I support allies coming in to support a battle completely. The only thing that I see that can complicate it is that if you're like, say that you have the One Sith going up against the Republic, and like the OP come in to help the Republic, and they're not messing with the One Sith isn't messing with them. Now all of a sudden OP is now declaring war on the One Sith because they're helping the Republic. So, for me, that's the only thing that complicates it. But other than that, I completely support allies coming in to fight with you.
Yeah,
Okay. Because there's still one more thing on the list, which is a quick recap of history between the startup of the forum to Clockwork Rebellion. But before we do that, we do owe those that we didn't answer their questions yet, because there are still quite a few more questions.
I volunteer as tribute.
Well, all right. You heard him, guys. Get the knife.
Okay, we got the first 2 of Garen's done. But let's get the last 3. If someone doesn't want to read a plethora of pages, but they have to know what's happening on their objective, is there any alternatives for new people to the invasion, or are you going to have to sadly stick it out through the entire walls of text?
Oh, as for brief synopsis in the OOC discussions, most people are pretty chill about that shit, so they'll help you out. I've never really run into anybody who's like, oh no, you have to read all my writing. So, like, it'd probably be, just ask somebody.
Yeah, and also to go along with that, on your faction page, there should be an OO out of character discussion on there too, because that's how it is for the One Sith. I know they have a OOC discussion for everything that they do. So yeah, just check that out or ask somebody.
Yeah.
Next up, for new players, how do I properly take a hit from NPCs? This is a nice one. If you guys don't mind, can I actually talk something first?
Yeah, go for it, man.
Yeah, go ahead.
In my experience with NPCs, there are two types. There are the three types. There are the basic footmen or infantry that have no submission whatsoever. They're just basic troops with generic rifles. Then there are the specialized troop, but no division. They are subbed creations, such as droids, with specialized weaponry that is also subbed. And the last grouping would be the actual unit-created, codex-approved groups, like, say, the 501st. Oh, God. Who made the 501st?
That was me. That's Drake's personal
Joshy
opinion.
Poo.
Okay,
Yeah.
there we go. Like the 501st, that Josh. Point being, that it really is a measure on what type of unit there is. If it's a basic one, you gauge it with how powerful your character is. If it's a veteran troop, you're probably not going to go down to one or two basic NPCs. Or maybe even subbed NPCs.
Do you mind if I interject here
Specialized
real quick, mate?
infantry like the 501st, maybe. Just depends on how experienced you are. I do want to say one thing, and this hurts me every time I see it. Keep in mind, Order 66 killed how many Jedi, both with surprise and without surprise, using squads of up to maybe 10 people normally. Even Jedi Masters died to this. You can't be a Force God. You can't be a Rambo, for example. You can't be those all the time, and there are points when you get to the fact that you do need to take hits from these things. Okay, who else needed to talk?
I want to be Force Jesus. Gosh, you guys are restricting my creativity.
Well, I think the thing with Order 66 that you brought up is you got to keep in mind that the Jedi Masters who were killed. You know, you can understand Jedi Knights and Jedi Padawans because they're Force sensitive and but they're not there yet. You know, they can't use it to their full extent. But Jedi Masters were targets because they had trust in the soldiers. So you always got to understand that even if it's from another faction, you got to be ready for anything to hit you, whether it's friendly fire or enemy fire, because I've been in threads where friendly fire has been a thing, so I just wanted to throw that in there, since you brought up Order 66.
I had one serious note that doesn't pertain to Force Jesus. A lot of the time, I don't really, and I've noticed this in the invasions too, is that when you're fighting NPCs, you're not just fighting NPCs. You're fighting characters that are living, breathing people. And they're not idiots. They're not going to run at you in a straight line and just shoot like they do in, the movies.
The movie.
Yeah. Soldiers use cover. They're not going to run at you. And you're going to get flanked. There's going to be obstacles in the way. There's stuff varying other than your skill. There are situations where one guy is going to just trump a Jedi Master because he's a few meters higher up than him. That's just how tactics work. Even a Suresu Master, if the guy can keep a range on you, if they're far away, they're going to win. So if you're a melee guy, you need to play the distance, etc., etc. And another thing when it comes to taking hits, if you're not really sure about it, roll a dice. It solves everything. The dice can't lie.
Okay, and before I get to an actual question that was posed real time in the chat on the YouTube page, on the YouTube video, thank you, Zing. I don't know how to say your name. I am sorry. But before I get to your question, because your question is very useful in a player-on-player situation. But first, The last question posed by Garen was, how do I use NPCs in a way that I won't get yelled at?
Oh, here, I can answer this one, I think. I think. I might be wrong, so one of you might have to correct me when I'm done. Alright, so I'm going to go off of my first experience way back when I joined the site, and my first invasion, that I participated in, which was the Sith when they were invading Junction to take it from the Mandalorians. So my NPCs, I had a squad of whatever. I know it was, just normal, straight-up soldiers that I was commanding. So to use them in a way that you don't get yelled at, you can't, words. You can't use them in a way that is spam. You can't. First off, you can't make them gods. They're not invincible. They have lives just like you. They can. The difference is that they can die. I mean, obviously you can die too, but you got to go through character permissions to do that. But NPCs can die, and you have to realize that they're not invincible. So if you're posting and you have a squad of just normal Marines following you, and there's a thermal detonator, you can't just say, oh yeah, everybody got out unscathed. You're gonna have injuries from that. Not everyone is invincible, and you got to realize that. The second major thing I can say is that there's only so many NPCs that you specifically command, especially in invasions, because invasions are, when you think invasion, you think full force, frontal attack from one faction to another. There's lots of NPCs that are joining you in this battle, but you're commanding these ones. So I would say, don't worry about the large. I mean, obviously, worry about the large scale of things, but worry more about your scale. Worry about your character, and worry about your NPCs that you're commanding, and then worry about the specific enemy that you're fighting and the specific NPCs that they're commanding. Because if you keep your mind in that large scale, frontal assault mindset, you're gonna get sidetracked. You're gonna lose track of your squad. You're gonna lose track of everything, and that's what happened to me when I first participated in Junction. Was I was just overwhelmed with the scale of it, and that was back when I mean they're still big now, but that invasion, I think Junction was probably one of the biggest invasions I've ever been a part of. That was a huge invasion, and when you're in that, you got to realize that it's all about focusing on your character and your NPCs and not the major scale of things. And then the final thing, if I may, is having a focus on who your squad is and focusing on their abilities and who they are. Back when I joined the site in the factory, we didn't have, at least I don't remember, did we have NPC creation in the factory?
Well, in the fact, do you mean like unit-wise?
Yeah, I don't think we had that.
Yeah.
No, that was recent, like in the last 6 months recent.
Yeah, so we didn't have that, and for you new members, that's pretty lucky that you guys have that, because that's pretty useful. But now that you have it, you got to focus on their abilities. You got to focus on who your NPCs are. If you have a squad of highly trained, snipers and assassins, obviously you're going to want to focus on, all right, these guys, physically, they aren't, ready for straight-up combat. They're the ones who hang back and, use their snipers and use long range to their advantage. And you got to think about that sort of stuff. And then you got to think, if you have a squad of Marines, these guys are more fit, they can stand a more direct assault, so they're going to be the ones that are charging with you. And you got to think about that stuff, because if you don't, if you have a team of snipers and you're posting saying that they're charging the battle with you, that's not completely accurate as to what they would really be doing. And you might not get yelled at it, at first, but, there's going to be somebody who brings up the fact with you, like, hey, like, you're charging head-on into battle with, like, trained assassins, that's not what you should be doing. So you really got to keep that in mind, is their abilities and their who they are as NPCs before using them.
And I was talking to someone in the little chat window of the YouTube video, and as I said, this person is the one I cannot pronounce, Zinx, or however your name is spelled. I am sorry, but he brought up the point: how do duels between players work exactly? Does one player have to say, "Hey, you can kill me," if they want it to happen? Which is both a little hint on a site rule as well as on invasions, because people have run into this problem before where they think coming from other servers, they're in an invasion, they can just strike them down, and it doesn't work that way. Anybody want to explain that one, or?
I can explain it. So, we're talking about, we're talking about
player permission killing.
Yeah, player permission killing. All right, so the way that, without player permission killing, the way that things work is you're just posting, the best way I could describe it is you post what you want your attack to be, and then they reply as to what the outcome of that attack is. And that's pretty much how, the basics of that works. When it comes to permissions, it's, I'd have to double check the site rules. I'm pretty sure it's a rule that you have to get permission before killing any player characters.
It is. It's something that shocked me when I came here, because I came from private servers, and Mr. Kane Zambrano can certainly be a pain, because the first World of Warcraft private server I was on, he was one of the main head honchos of that place. And it was coming from first time roleplay, it set the stage for going, you did something stupid, you're dead, deal with it. Here, you don't have that. You have, I don't want to die, so you can't kill me. It's a big change for people that haven't had that before.
Yeah, and going off of that, the reason why we have that on the site is because we're a very story-based site. We love storytelling. Everyone, I think it's safe to say that everyone who writes on the site and has alts, we love storytelling, and I think that's one of the big things that is what the site's about, is storytelling. It's pretty much a giant Star Wars fan fiction that we're all playing a part of. And, that's why I joined the site, is for the storytelling. And because it's storytelling and not combat-based, you have to have that line of, our characters can go at it, we can fight each other, we can seriously injure each other, we can push each other to death, but the line is we can't kill each other, because that takes away from the story. Losing a character is losing a piece of that story. And that's why we have that rule, and I think that it's probably one of the best rules on the site. It does cause some restriction, and it does cause a little bit of, I guess you could say, friction if you want to retire a character and you gotta actually post saying, hey, would somebody please kill my character? I always find that to be an awkward situation. I've done it with Onyx like 8 times, and I feel bad for it, but it's true. I've killed him like 4 or 5 times, but I find that to be awkward when you have to post saying like, hey, I want somebody to kill my character, but that goes with the storytelling of it. It's not like, oh, you made me angry, I'm going to kill you. It's, no, I had a good story with this character, and he is ready to be retired. And I enjoy that role.
Okay. Now, let me just refresh this first before I say the only one, because I don't want to miss somebody's post. Kane, your post was already answered. Yes, we are going to stay on topic as long as we stay on topic. If that makes any sense.
We have been rambling a little bit.
We have.
Yeah.
But
That's what a podcast is, though.
Since Kane brought up that issue of staying on topic, I'm going to set the topic right now. It's a current event, and it happened today, because we've got 2 new roleplay judges and 3 new codex judges.
Oh boy.
And keep in mind, viewers, that this podcast is a completely honest, straightforward, and hopefully unbiased podcast. So I would like to ask you guys about your opinions on the current Codex and roleplay the new roleplay judges and Codex judges. And I will start. As for the Codex judges, I actually resigned from being a factory judge today because I haven't really been keeping up with my job and whatnot. But I've been close touch with the Codex judges because they're part of the whole progressive and creative process that we have going on in Chaos to create new submissions for species, starships, and whatnot. And the first three new Codex judges are Darth Vinifica, along with Korath Alaris, and excuse me, I'm loading up the page right now.
Anja, it's the primeval leader.
Yeah, it's Anja.
Yep, Anja Ajru, and a lot, but she was a roleplay judge at one point in time, and from what I could tell, she was a pretty fair leader. Well, roleplay judge and faction leader, along with the Omega Protectorate and the Jedi Order when she roleplayed with them. And so, since I don't really know her out of character, I don't really have an opinion on her. Now, Darth Vinifica, I've roleplayed with her several times as Mordecai Zambrano within the One Sith, and I must say that she's a fairly adept writer, and I like the way she does things. As far as out of character things go, I think she'll be a very capable Codex judge, just as long as things stay completely unbiased, because that's the key thing you want when you're doing factory and Codex judgings or anything on the site in general regarding other factions. Like when I was not roleplay judge, factory judge, I tried not to judge One Sith things because that would seem a little bit biased, as that was my main faction. And as for Anja Ajru, which is the leader of the Primeval faction, that is a great choice right there. I cannot see anyone else doing that job but him, and he's going to do great. So what do you guys think about the other three?
Well, for the other three, I've gotten to talk with Korath Alaris quite a bit over the span of my knowing her. We're still doing that thread that currently is the longest running thread on the site. It's been running since, I want to say, around mid-2014. She's a very nice person, a very fair person. I think she'll be a very excellent Codex judge. For Darth Vinifica, haven't seen her, really interacted with her. We're going to be threading soon, hopefully. But she seems like a very nice person, and I think that she'll do a good job as a Codex judge as well. And Anja Ajru, I'm not entirely sure, but I don't think I've really interacted with them that much. But, again, they also seem like a pretty good person, and overall I think the crop of brand new Codex judges is excellent.
Well, okay, so my problem is I think the only one I've played with, I think Benefica I've RP'd with once or twice with. I think she's a real good choice because based off what I've encountered through the posts that we've been through, really fair, really straightforward, doesn't really mess around, which is something that I think is very important because, they won't mess with you, they'll be straightforward with you, and that's something that's very important for a judge. As for the other two, I honestly have not RP'd with them. Based off what you guys were saying, they sound like good choices, so I'll just go with that.
Go ahead.
For me, I honestly have played very little in the realm of roleplay with any of the new ones, minus the primeval one through the invasion we're doing right now. There has literally been nothing that not that I can remember, unless I'm missing an alt of theirs. I've never RP with them. I've never talked to them out of character. I just have nothing really to say about their characters or them themselves.
That's okay.
And if I remember correctly, in concert with our 3 new Codex judges, we also got 2 new RPJs, roleplay judges, members of the community who we all know and love in our own various ways. That being Quietus, otherwise known as Lorelei Dark, or What was that other name?
Avalor.
Sierra, or oh, you're still talking. Okay.
And then there's Illy, otherwise known as Sira, Danger Arsenu, Tessira Hawk, and about 75 other names.
The entire board.
We're all
I'm pretty sure she has more characters than any of us put together.
She does. But Avalor is awesome. She's a great admin. Love her in the Republic. I abstain from the rest.
I
No comment.
was in the OP while Sierra was Lady Protectorate. I've RP'd with her countless times just because of how many alts she has. Honestly, she's fun to talk to. She's very fair on a normal basis. And she likes to give Sarge a heartbreak in state.
Aw.
Oh my god, she said Illy was nice.
Josh. Josh.
Illy's terrible. She killed all my Republic Marines.
No personal grudges.
Oh, god.
Not a one.
Well,
Not a one.
of them all, Quietus, I'll just go for Quietus because that's her base name. Quietus is someone that I really wish I could have interacted with more. When I was talking with her about possibly joining the Moros Crusade, she was very friendly, very respectful, very just overall cordial, and if that carries over into her role as an RPG, she's going to be an excellent RPG. With Illy, well, we've had our ups and downs, but she has always proven to be competent at managing whatever she has, be it a faction, in the case of the then Omega Pyre, or as a former administrator, former RPG, I think. Has she been an RPG before?
I think so.
I don't remember, but she might have been.
I think she was for a little bit.
Probably was.
She does. Well, my point is she does have the experience when it comes to managing things that an RPG needs in order to be successful. So that's definitely going to count in our favor during this tenure.
Do we have anything else for question-wise?
I think I saw one back on the board.
I know we hit Kezov's because we kind of got off track, so we kind of answered his in conjunction with Karen's, but I think the third one was something we didn't. Let me pull it up real quick.
Here, I got it.
Oh, and Delilah. I cannot say people's names today.
I think it's Delilah. Yeah, Delilah. Delilah. How soon can I read?
Well, considering
Two minutes.
Trend of blog posts over stuff, I'd give it 30 minutes after this is over.
Anyways, moving on to the actual questions.
Ground combat or fleeting? Which do you guys prefer?
For these massive battles. Okay, so I want to go first.
Fleet. It's all about the fleet.
Shut up, Josh.
Gosh, there, it's all about the fleeting.
See, and my answer is completely opposite. I hate fleeting. I hate it. I cannot stand fleeting. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I can't write it correctly, and I just don't know space combat. But for me, I love ground combat. I love being the badass soldier who has a lightsaber in one hand and a blaster in the other, leading a whole bunch of troops towards the enemy. Like that's just badass. I just love that. And for me, fleeting is just, I don't know. I just can't do it.
You guys are disgusting. I can't believe you guys don't like fleeting. I mean, why would you run around on the ground when you can get shot from any direction, when you can just get a Star Destroyer, aim it towards the planet, and turn on hyperdrive and fucking destroy a planet?
Okay, I got a
I don't understand why you guys don't like ships. I love ships.
I have a logical answer for that. The logical answer is Star Destroyers are easier to hit than a singular person running across the battlefield.
It depends on what's aiming at you.
I have a much.
Yeah, I mean, but the Star Destroyer won't die in one hit.
Yes, it will. Shush. You played The Force Unleashed.
No, it won't.
Okay.
All we need is one Sith to raise his hand and drag it to the ground. I mean, let's be honest here.
Real.
Alright, listen here, you little shit. That is a video game.
Hold on, you
That's not how we do things
motherfucker.
here.
No,
Let's calm down. Let's calm down.
I have an answer to your dilemma with the draft. In space, you cannot blow up people's hands with your brain, which I have thoroughly enjoyed in every single invasion I've been a part of.
Okay. So,
That's
from
gay.
the current standpoint, Josh is with fleeting from quite obviously, and Chandler's
baby.
around. Logan,
I've
you
got a fleet
said-
fetish.
What, mate?
What did you say for your choice of which?
Oh, land, man. I love my soldiers, and I can't do
And
space.
Cersei?
Thank you.
Definitely have to go with fleet, and I believe, truthfully, that people would care for the fleet than the ground stuff, because on a mass deployed unit basis, that is for something that is used by the overall faction, not just a select group of people, not just an individual, there are more ships that are made than there are, I don't know, tanks or weapons or suits of armor, individually anyways. I mean, it just seems to push more towards the trend of space being important compared to ground combat.
I'd argue against that. I mean, people RP the ships more, but that doesn't mean there's more of that stuff running around. I mean, just in general, I mean, I get the whole, oh, we're going to capture the planet from space. That's cool and shit.
Yeah.
But there's no point in having the planet if you're not going to have ground. If there's no, relevancy to the ground combat, per se, you're just going to glass the planet, and as much as I do enjoy glassing planets, we can't do that to every planet, because we have to live on them.
Well, we could turn
Yeah, you
into
can live on a
Long
ship.
Galaxy and start living on world ships.
I don't
Yeah,
wanna
man, you can live on
ships.
world ships. I
I'm
would
not
be
a
okay with
Quarian.
that.
Yes, you would be the one.
There was one event.
Dude, I don't mind.
I don't
For
know.
me, there's a stipulation. With fleeting, as long as there is a valid physical map that I can orient ships, that I can look at it and say, this is where one ship is, or this is where one group of ships are, this is where another group is. I like to fleet, I love fleeting, but without that, I'm running into the problem now in the Primeval one where we all got easily confused what everything was going on. So I have to go with land combat over fleeting unless there is a map.
Alright, well, we got any more questions, actually? That was pretty fun. I like to
Yeah, it was
defeat
fun.
these land lovers.
Nothing in the instant chat at the moment. I've been looking at the Twitter, nothing there, and last one was... wait, Dredge said something.
Dredge.
Would you go gay for Han Solo?
What now? Would I go?
Dredge said, would you go gay for Han Solo?
Yes.
Let me make a statement here.
Yes.
Aaron, my dear, sweet, good friend. I would do things to
I
Han
would.
Solo I can't say on a public podcast.
I agree.
I would. You've got all of us on that boat from what I can hear.
All I want is for me to tell Han Solo that I love him, and for him to look me in the eyes and say I know.
No, dude, you gotta bend him over the table.
Do him when he's in carbonite.
There you go.
It's like in that. It's like in that Robot Chicken skit where, fucking what's his face, the Mandalorian bounty hunter, Boba Fett. He has him inside his ship when he's in carbonite, and he starts making out with the with Han Solo when he's in carbonite.
So hot.
With that,
What's
unless
happening?
anybody has any last things to say about invasions,
Well, Kane did want us to all talk about the Kashyyk creation thingy.
No, we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah, no.
Kashyyk is not important. Neither is Kane.
come on. why do we even need those two characters?
What? Who are those
Why
people?
should we right now?
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. This will be our final thing, and viewers will be closing this out at the half-hour mark, which is in 11 minutes, and we're going to talk about the Kashyyk Grayson and the Kane Zambrano shipping thread. Will they get married? Nobody will know. Nobody knows.
Did they bang?
The
I'm
ship
just
made
gonna
in
sit
hell.
this topic out. I'm just gonna sit
I
this
mean,
one out.
I
You
can
guys
kind of
talk.
see them doing it. Not like that.
Oh my God.
I can see them doing it.
No,
But not like
Well,
that.
there was one more topic,
You dirty mule.
and it was the quick overview of site lore from startup to.
Oh right, yeah. To the Clockwork Rebellion.
Oh, 1 second, I gotta answer. Zinx, just because of time preferences, I am going to write down your question for the next time. We gotta get to the last thing on the list before
Last
we
second.
get to the end of the time.
So I'll just
We
sum
had
it
a
up.
list.
We're gonna
Can
talk
you
about
believe it? We had a list.
Yeah, we had a list, but it kind of went down the toilet long ago.
Yeah,
But
don't
that's
worry,
okay.
fellas.
It's a
This will be
podcast, you know,
fixed
as
next
long-
time.
Let
This
me
is our
actually
first
write down
one.
this comment, though, so that I have it for next time.
Okay, so we're going to talk about a quick discussion of the in-character lore of Star Wars Chaos from the beginning of the board up to Clockwork Rebellion. So who wants to do some insight on that?
Mind if I take this off? Just in both congratulations to, or rather thank yous to Kane and Guy Michael, who plays Isley Verd. I need to thank them because they gave me a crash course on what happened during those first few, during the startup of the board.
We love you.
I was there, but go ahead.
Talk.
Let's start with
Go
the
ahead.
expansive and definitely more egotistical version, Kane Zambrano.
Oh, baby.
Oh, God.
This was purely focused on the One Sith history, so,
Oh,
or
Lord.
rather Sith Empire at the time.
Yeah.
Same thing,
Yeah.
but
We
whatever.
all remember what he
Sith.
Sorry, Zambrano, but you did destroy the Sith Empire.
He did. He
The
did.
original
He gave it up.
He borked it. God damn it, Kane.
The foundations of
I
the
would-
Empire, and this is by Kane's words,
Oh,
were
God.
created by Darth Siddiq. I have
It
no idea
was.
who that is. If any of you guys do,
I do. I remember. He started the Sith Empire. He was the owner of it for like the longest time until I think Zane was actually the one who took it over. I mean Kane. Wow, I just fucked. Kane. Kane took it over from him, I believe, if I remember correctly.
then he disappeared. Doesn't really give a reason, but a triumvirate came to take power after that, led by faces as Darth Moradin, whose current main character is now Solil. How do you say his name?
Salile Devon Paul.
That too.
He's the old god of the Moros Crusade that just disappeared.
He ate a son.
Yeah.
I want to point that
That's
out.
true. He ate a son created
He did.
by Crag. Crag made it, right?
Yeah.
No, yeah, I guess.
Was it? Yeah. Whatever.
The other two were Darth Disciple, who I vaguely remember. I was here for him, but I don't
Disciple
remember a lot
was
about him.
not just to point this out. Disciple was probably my favorite Sith on the board. He was my absolute favorite character.
Wasn't Disciple just played by Sarge, though?
No.
No, it wasn't. It was somebody else.
Because
I don't even know if he's still here.
I remember
No, he's
seeing
not.
Disciple
He's left.
for, like being around, and that's played by Sarge.
And the last of the triumvirate was Darth Veracitos.
Rossidos.
Thank you. Who, for those who have not and for those new, there is a joke mainly because of the play-by he used.
Jesus.
Well, it'll be even funnier when I describe him. He was a literal tub of lard in a chair.
He was gorgeous.
I was
Wasn't
fucking
easy.
brains out. God dang.
Damn right.
His
Giant
kitties
vat
would be
of
bouncing
sexy.
all over the place when you're doing it too.
You get some nice titties
After
for a
the
little more.
triumvirate, pretty much useless. Again, this is before I was here, so these are Kane's words. Moradin disbanded it and seized power. He led a campaign against the Mandalorians at the battles of Junction, which I do believe somebody brought up earlier, and Concord Dawn. Plus the Mando counterattack at Junction again.
Woo!
After that, everybody's favorite female Sith, Ashen Varanin, took over.
I love Ashen.
Same.
And this is actually about the time that I started hearing about it, so I do know this part onwards for a small bit. After that, Ashen took over the Sith Empire through a coup, which displaced Moradin. Did Moradin die during that, or
No.
No, Chick was alive for a while. She died
He was alive, and he actually like kind of disappeared off the board for a while, and then he kind of came back and then disappeared. He was kind of on and off after that. I mean, I never actually saw him that much after, but he didn't die. He was alive.
Agreed. He didn't die. I can verify that for a fact.
And this was the last real big event for the Sith Empire before the Clockwork Rebellion, which I have a little snippet on that to just talk about that as well. Past that, this is where the information from Guy, which is more ranged rather than a certain single entity. So I'll be hitting on what the first major factions were, what the beginning stuff was for the site. Okay, according to Guy, when the site first started, major factions got 5 planets each. Were you guys back then? Do you know this?
I joined probably a month or two into the site.
I joined in Clockwork.
Okay.
I believe I joined when OP was first becoming a major faction.
I joined immediately during the very last Clockwork event during the final battle against Omni, so I sort of have an understanding of how this went.
Oh my god, I was on before you.
Because I joined right after.
I feel so much cooler now.
Then we touch on to TEF action. You know those big events like Netherworld and stuff? From what Guy has told me, they were hosted per week. They were hosted probably smaller, but they were weekend events for a few weeks.
Yeah, Weekend Madness, I think it was called. I forget what it was called, but it was they had weekend events that they did.
No, this wasn't a event.
I'm reading here. The beginning factions up until Clockwork, this is up until Clockwork, were the Republic, the Sith Empire, the Mandalorians, the Syndicate, which no longer exists but was merged into OP from what he tells me, and, well, OP. As well as the Hutt Cartel, but they're now the Black Suns, basically.
It should also be noted that OP had a different name then. It was actually Omega Bribery. Yeah, before it was the Pox, right?
Also the System Syndicate merged into a business-related faction that Ali Wren took over. I remember that because I was briefly a part of it before the faction died due to inactivity.
Then next up, he did give us one minor faction that was around there that was, in his words, the minor faction of minor factions. This being the Vagrant Fleet, which I was around for before it. Is it still around? I don't see them doing anything anymore.
No, they're gone, man.
No, they're gone.
Oh.
They were merged with the Fringe. They're part of the Fringe now, and technically nobody ever role plays them, although there still are a bunch of characters in the Fringe now from that Vagrant Fleet.
Yep.
They were fun.
That was interesting.
And then the only other information we got here is just the leaders of the, well, for some of these, we have the leaders for Omega Pyre and Republic. That's what he could remember. For the Republic, it was himself as General Rostu or something like that. Genesis
Rostu, yeah.
Genesis
Rostu.
Who was probably leader of the military or something.
Probably.
Then Tef playing Master Tefka or Tefara.
Tefara or whatever. I don't know how to pronounce it.
It was basically the character that created chaos, basically. And Tegs playing a still around character, and I do believe she has a current position now. Aurelia in the Republic. Was she elected for something recently?
She is a senator.
She's part of the military committee for the Republic. right now. She's she's the head of the Combined Defense Forces Committee.
We
So
have a lot
she's
of
stuck around for the whole time. As for Omega Pyre, it's the three that you would expect there to be. Sarge, Sierra. Sarge is pretty much Warhammer brought to Star Wars. Sierra is the one with 10 million alts. And Aiden Qatar, who, for any new people listening to this, you missed one of the best fleeters on this site. Sorry, Josh.
Did you say Qatar?
Why? What's his name?
Cater, dude.
Yeah, it's Cater.
I don't know. It just
Qatar, you're gonna start offending all the Arabs in
Looked
here.
at his name. Point being, those are the leaders I have before me. I don't have the one for the Mandalorians, nor do I have the one for the Hut Cartel.
Well,
I don't know about the Hut Cartel.
Damn, that would probably be good.
I don't know about the Hut Cartel, but I think the leader of the Mandalorians was Oh no, I think that was later. Wasn't RC the leader of the Mandalorians at one point? RC 131.
Oh, RC was Death Watch, man.
What? Oh, Death Watch. That's who he was. Okay, never mind then. I don't know.
So it looks like we're kind of reaching our time here, guys. I
Yep,
think we need to wrap it up.
actually, we're just about 3 seconds now.
well, I mean, suppose for the people who are here, we should quickly recap what happened with Clockwork. Long story short, there was an evil AI, and it used nanites to take over a bunch of characters, similar to what Akala did in the Massive Madness event. They got, amalgamated into an Omni's force, and they fought against the rest of the galaxy until he got killed, and blah-de-blah-de-blah. And, that's basically how it went.
Yeah.
It set
All
the
right,
table
guys.
for a lot of
All right,
current major factions.
I want to wrap up the show, if that's okay.
Go right ahead.
Okay, so to wrap up, thank you guys so much for joining us, for those of you who did. I know that we got some pretty good people in. Thank you guys who are here hosting. I wanted, when I started this podcast idea, I wanted it to be a community thing, and I think it has worked out pretty good. I think it was pretty fun, and I think that the four of us are going to... There's four of us, right? Am I counting?
5 right now.
5.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. 5 of us. I'm dysfunctional. I'm sure the 5 of us will have fun hosting in the future, and I'm sure that this podcast will be fun for the whole site. I definitely had fun tonight. What about you guys?
Had a blast, man.
Yep.
Oh.
But I got one more thing. All right, guys. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Stay tuned in for next time. Next time it will be much more on topic. We'll have a list written out for everything that we're going to be discussing, and we're going to be inviting guest speakers, and we're going to be taking questions up until then. Stay tuned for a new thread. We'll be taking requests to be a guest on here. We'll let you in on what we're doing, and we'll just have a great time next time.
Okay.
And to wrap it up, until next time, we are the Star Wars RP Chaos podcast crew. The voices within the chaos, and we wish you all a good night.